You're watching Lit Happens. I'm Danica Lorer. This is your celebration of the literary arts in Saskatchewan. I'm really pleased to be here today with our first guest, Marie Aline. Hi, Marie.
Hi, Danica.
Welcome. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I grew up in Saskatchewan, small town Saskatchewan, but I wouldn't say necessarily that I'm a small town girl. And I've been in Saskatoon, moved here after high school, and have been here ever since. I've done quite a few different things, actually. I was a photographer had my own photography business for about 10 years. I owned a coffee roasting business, and most recently have published my first book. I have a family, my oldest son is 21, and my youngest son is 7 weeks. So this last probably year and a half, I've just really dove into the writing process, and I've really embraced that. It started off with in high school, all through school, loved writing, and it was something that like I said, I just loved it. But then when I graduated, it was just the road that I never took, and it was always in the back of my head, something that I really wanted to do. And so then when we had closed the coffee roasting business, it was just eating away at me. So I had written over half of the book already, and then had sent Wes Funk a message and said, hey, I needed someone who I knew but who wasn't really close to me to critique, because sometimes close family and friends aren't really what you want. You want, an objective opinion. So I contacted Wes, and we got together for coffee, and he was like, you've got something here, in his enlightening, exuberant kind of way, and it really encouraged me to go ahead with it. And so then I took one of his writing classes. It was over, I can't remember if it was 6 or 8 weeks, but it was about how to self-publish, because otherwise I would have been lost if it wasn't for him and definitely for that class. So I took that, and then he connected me with so many other just people of support, and connected me with my editor, also with Chris Fisher, who did the design of the cover, and that's. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So we'll show your book now.
Sure.
And your book is Billy and the Borrower. And it's a beautiful cover. This is the first time I've held it in my hands, so I'm looking forward to reading this book. So tell us a little bit about what you've written.
Okay, it is a fantasy fiction novel. It's the first in a series, and the story is about Billion is a man who wakes up in Israel in the 70s, and he has no memory at all. And so the story is of the next 40 years, 45 years of his life, just highlighting, little events, but it's more about him finding out not only who he was, but what he is. And, part of that being the word borrower is actually he, right away in the book, you find out that he ends up waking up one day in someone else's body. So it's actually, the borrower is that he has the ability to borrow other people, and then the other story in the book is about the character's named Jordana Fireborn. And so for her, she tells her story in the book as well, and her story is only about over the last 5 years, but she runs into all these problems and things in her life, and it's how the two stories connect and how they end up meeting each other, and her hearing his story. It has some wild turns in it, and it's.
And so how have people reacted to your book?
I've had a lot of positive feedback. Of course, the book was just published in October, is when I've finally had it in my hands. So the response has been positive. A lot of people have said to me they didn't realize how or the connection of how people in our past, even if we only meet them briefly, how they can have a dramatic effect on our lives today or the things that happen, but also it delves into past lives. And so people have said, you know, it makes me a little bit more aware of the decisions we make, the people we meet, and how things can come full circle that way.
Very nice. So do you have a website or a way that people can find your book or some of the other things that you're writing?
Okay, yeah, I have, actually I have two websites. The first one is thefirebornchronicles.com. That website just gives a little bit more information about the book, how you can get your hands on it. And then the second website that I have is actually a blog that I've been writing for well over a year now, and I started the blog where I write about characters that are actually in the book. So the blog is jordanafireborn.wordpress.com, and on there, it's written in the voice of Jordana, who is one of the main characters in the book. And so there's stories that just give more character enhancement, just things that add to the book, but then also things that will kind of foreshadow a little bit about the books that are to come.
Nice. And so I guess, well, where can people pick up a print copy of the book?
Print copy of the book, it's available at McNally Robinson, of course, at Indigo. It's also available at Coles and Lawson, or on the website, or can connect me on Facebook as well. So
with the series, I guess the next step is what you're working on. You're working on more stories in the series?
Yeah, absolutely. I've started writing the second book. It's about Luther, who is a character in the book as well. He was actually Billion's, it's like Billion's mentor, so to speak. So it's goes into his story.
So do you have any difficulty keeping track of who the characters are and how they cross?
No, not really. I kind of, I guess, laid everything out in the beginning and knowing those characters. And I suppose sometimes we inject our own lives into things, not to say that, my life is jumping from body to body, because that is definitely not the case. But I think we inject our own lives into it. And so we kind of have an idea of maybe what characters can relate to certain people in our lives and that sort of thing. So I haven't had difficulty with that. I think more so it's just in organizing things, and that's more of my problem. Creative people probably just have more issues with keeping things organized because their brain doesn't work that way.
And what's been your favorite thing about this whole process so far?
Oh, favorite thing. Well, I know what my least favorite thing, and that was editing. But the editing process was I find difficult. But as far as the favorite thing is, just being able to have, when you have that story within you and you just really need to get it out, it's, the book was actually quite healing for me too, just because, like I said, for years I wanted to do, to get more into writing and to have that more of a part of my life other than journaling, so that's really what I've loved, is just being able to express myself in that way, and to be able to, and like I said too, meeting all of the people that I have met through the process has been great. So it's brought a lot of awesome people into my life.
Thank you, Marie. It sounds like you've taken steps on an incredible journey. This is Lit Happens on Shaw. You can find past episodes on the YouTube channel, Shaw Saskatoon. Just look for Lit Happens. I'm Danica Lorer, and you can find me on Facebook.